Hello everyone, I'm Shinyoung Kim. Today I'm going to talk about the domestication and foreignization in translation, understanding cultural nuances in the Book of Almond. Welcome everyone. Today I'm diving into the fascinating world of translation theory, focusing on two key strategies, domestication and foreignization. Our case study will be the Korean novel Almond by Son Won-pyong, exploring how these approaches affect the translation from Korean to English. To start, let's define terms. Domestication makes a foreign text familiar to the target audience, often adapting cultural references to fit the target culture. Foreignization, on the other hand, retains the original cultural elements, allowing the reader to experience the text's foreignness. Let's consider an example from Almond. In one passage, the protagonist Gon participates in a traditional Korean funeral ritual. The original Korean text reads, 사람들 사이를 해치고 고니가 제 엄마의 영정 앞에 절을 했다. The human translator rendered this as Gon passed through the crowd to bow before the funeral portrait of his mom. Google Translate provided Gon walked through the crowd and bowed in front of his mother's portrait. Notice how the human translation specifies funeral portrait, preserving the cultural context and solemnity, while Google Translate's version is more generic. This brings us to the strength and limitation of each approach. Domestication can make text more accessible, but risk losing cultural authenticity. Foreignization maintains cultural integrity, but can be challenging for readers unfamiliar with original culture. Let's look at the traditional cuisine. The Korean text describes a meal during a holiday. 명절 때 엄마가 하던 음식과 종류가 비슷했다. 뜨거운 국과 전, 꿀이 든 떡이며 과일들. The human translation reads the food was similar to mom's holiday dishes. hot 육개장, 전, 꿀떡, and fruit. Google Translate offered it was similar to the type of food my mother used to cook during the holidays. Hot soup, pancakes, rice cakes with honey and fruits. The human translation uses the original Korean dish names, a foreignization approach, preserving cultural specificity. Google Translate opts for a domesticated approach, using generic terms that are more familiar to an English-speaking audience but lose the cultural nuance. When it comes to personal identity and naming, names carry significant cultural weight. The text states, 곤이라는 이름은 희망원이란 시설에서 스스로 지은 이름이었다. 한자도 있어? Human translation, it was at the Hope Center shelter that he fashioned the name Gon for himself. Do you have Hanja letters for it? I asked. Google Translate, the name Gon was a name he gave himself at a facility called Hope Garden. Are there any Chinese characters? The human translation's use of Hanja retains the cultural practice of using Chinese characters for names, a foreignization approach. Google Translate's Chinese character is less specific, losing some cultural depth. Now, consider linguistic nuances and corrections. The original text features a correction of speech. 그래봐야 너나 나나 살아온 횟수가 같거든. 횟수야, 횟수 아니고. Human translation, we've both lived the same number of years. We've both lived the same number of years. You know. It's the same number of years, not a. Google Translate, so you and I have lived the same number of years. It's the number of years, it's not the number of times. The human translation effectively captures the correction of a speech, subtle linguistic nuance, while Google Translate version is more literal and less nuanced. Finally, adapting to new environments and educational expectations. The text describes a student adapting to a new semester. 계절은 어느덧 5월의 초입에 들어서고 있었다. 5월 정도면 많은 게 익숙해진다. 신학기의 낯선도 사라진다. Human translation, the days were slipping by and it was already early May. The unfamiliarity of a new semester fades away by this time. Google Translate, the season was already approaching the beginning of May. By May, you will get used to a lot of things. the unfamiliarity of the new semester disappears. The human translation captures the gradual adaptation process more fluidly, while Google Translate's literal approach may miss some emotional undertones. So, in summary, while machine translation such as Google Translate can provide quick and general accurate translations, it often lacks the ability to capture deeper cultural emotional context. Human translation, with its capacity for cultural sensitivity and nuanced interpretation, is more effective in preserving the richness and subtleties of the original text. As we continue to advance in machine translation technologies, it is crucial to remember the irreplaceable value of human translators in maintaining cultural fidelity and enhancing cross cultural communication. Thank you for watching the discussion on domestication and foreignization in translation.